organization which is called the Nous, spelled Nous.
Yes.
Okay, now I'm confused. Is it an English word? Or?
Actually, news is also a French word, but in this context, we're using it as a Greek word, and it means the mind.
Mind.
The mind, yes, it means mind. So that's what the organization is about, talking about the mind, talking about the power of the mind, talking about the state of the mind, talking about what the mind can do and what the mind cannot do. So that's what the organization is about.
Okay, what inspired this?
Okay, I do not live here. I live in UK, and sometimes last year, actually before last year, I'd noticed a very high number of Black, Asian, and minority ethnic people being overrepresented in the mental health sector. So you have a higher significance of people who are what we call BAMI, that's Black, Asian, minority ethnic communities, being sectioned. And that's mainly because there's a higher level of negative stereotyping and stigma in those communities. So people don't access early intervention. And so people are breaking down mentally quite early. So all of this has obviously caused a higher number of people going into the mental health sector.
Okay, when we talk about mental health,
Yes,
we probably will have, some, maybe, how do I put it now? Some demarcations, like one might be serious, one might not be serious. Do we have issues like that? The serious ones and the ones that are not too serious?
okay, the way most psychiatrists put it is that there's a long spectrum. So everyone at one staging point of their life will be at a spectrum of the mental well-being. So there's some times that you will feel very, very stressed and you find yourself going a little bit higher on that level. There are severity, yes, I agree with you. There's severity and there are less severe issues around mental health. So for example, when a person experiences mental relapse or a mental breakdown, you probably will classify it and say that it is severe. So if a person just goes through a very stressful day, you probably will say, okay, not too severe, on the low spectrum. But yes, you're right, there are levels of severity,
So what does it mean to have a mental illness?
Okay, I'm not a psychiatrist. It's one of the things that I make very clear. I was actually at an event last Saturday and somebody called me doctor, because obviously when you have a passion about something, you end up having to read a lot. So I've read a lot. I know of most of the various diagnoses around mental health or mental illnesses. I know medications people can use. I know quite a lot because I'm very interested. And of course, I'm a mental health advocate as well. Part of what I do in England is to work with people who have been sectioned, to actually advocate for them. Because what sectioning means in England is that the state becomes your carer. You no longer have a right or a choice to the type of medication or the type of treatment you're given. Unfortunately, a lot of our people are overdosed because of our presentation. Most of the psychiatrists don't exactly know how we behave, what are, like I'm talking to you now, I'm gesticulating. So the typical British man, you're being confrontational, he's becoming aggressive, so they probably would overdose them. What are mental illnesses? Mental illness is a state where your mental well-being is disturbed, what I usually call a state of your equilibrium, your mental equilibrium being tipped over to the other side. So for example, a person expresses depression. Depression could be mild, it could be chronic. And even with chronic, you have various levels of chronic depression. You have some depression that can actually become psychotic, where the person starts to experience hearing voices and they're seeing things that other people are not seeing. So there's schizophrenia, there's bipolar, there's personality disorder, there's narcissism, there's a whole range of them. But obviously, it's the psychiatrists that are able to diagnose. I can't diagnose. But one of the things that I know is that there are some basic presentations to some of those illnesses. So you see a person who experiences a sudden high, they have very high mood and they go high. They feel they can take the world. They feel, they're fantastic. They have the strength, they have the energy, and then suddenly dip low. That's bipolar, for example. So somebody is telling you they're hearing voices. It's a psychotic experience. So there are various ways in which, I'm not a psychiatrist, but there are various ways in which you know this very likely will be the diagnosis because of what their presentation has been.
Okay, what are the likely causes of some of this issues?
There are two issues that we usually use to describe certain presentations in people. There's what you call nature, and there's what you call nurture. Nature. Some people, because of some chemical imbalance in the brain, things could just happen. Some, very, very, very rare, is genetic. So cancer, for example, can be genetic, can be passed in families. Diabetes can be genetic. I won't say genetic, can be nurture, because you're in a family where you all eat the same type of food, you all have the same life pattern. So you find out that the mother has, the daughter has, the daughter's daughter has, and it's because of their patterning, the way they live. With nature, if a person has a predisposition, for example, if they've had mental illness in their family, there are very few insignificant percentage of this. Unfortunately, one of the things we have in our community is that once you are mad, everybody in the family can be mad. No, it's not true. There's a nurture. A lot of those who are experiencing mental breakdown or mental imbalance is because of nurture, environment you've grown up in, undue stress. Some people have gone through what we call post-traumatic stress when they were young. We have a lot of people who were sexually abused when they were young and they've never been able to talk about it. And these things are flaring up in their old age. It comes up. There's no way you can suppress a thing, especially issues of emotions, for too long. It comes up at a particular time. So a person has lost their job, for example. I'll tell you one thing. I was speaking with a psychiatrist over the weekend, and she was saying to me that a lot of the women in Nigeria now who are in the hospital are there because they've had a breakdown in their marriages, in their relationships. Nature, nurture, it can be either of both that can cause mental breakdown.
Okay, does it have age barrier? Does it affect both the old
I am
and
glad
the young?
we have the first open mic session. I didn't talk about that earlier, what we do in the UK. We have the first open mic session this Saturday. And we have a senior psychiatrist, a senior consultant from Aro who's coming to speak. She's actually a specialist with children and adolescents. And at a program that I was in last Saturday, she was actually sharing the fact that her youngest patient is a 3-year-old.
Oh my God.
With addiction. She's going to be there on Saturday, and I'm hoping people who are listening will come in to the open mic session we have this Saturday at House J Resort. It's 11 Joel Ogunaike Street. We're going to start from 10 till 1.
Okay, in Ikeja here.
In Ikeja here. And what we will be doing is just to talk about it. You know, one of the problems with stigma is that a lot of people are disinformed. I use the word disinformed. So they form opinions because they do not know. So they make up stories in their brain because they do not know. But where information is provided and people get to realize that these are real things happening in our community, we can no longer decide to keep it aside and just think that, it's only people who are poor that experience mental illness. It's only people who are in the middle class that experience mental illness. Mental illness, coming back to your question, it does not know age. It does not know race. It does not know your status. It does not know your educational achievement. It knows nothing. It's just like with all other illnesses, like with cancer. Cancer knows no age. Diabetes knows no age. It's across board. And that's why we are advocating, the news is saying in our communities, we need to be talking about this. Because unfortunately, a lot of the illnesses that we're treating now, the bottom line of most of them is stress. So we have a higher rate of cancer in our community now. The bottom line is stress. Stress is a predisposing factor to a lot of illnesses. Cancer, high blood pressure, cardiac arrest, all of that. Stress is a predisposing factor.
In our community, in our society, there's this belief that once someone who's had mental issues, you feel that person can be completely cured.
I'm so glad you asked that question.
That once the person has been to hospital and they come back there will be some certain times they still exhibit, some
Or they
form
could
of,
have relapse.
relapse.
Okay.
So,
I'm glad you asked that question. On Saturday, we will have a psychiatrist who will be talking about recovery. People can recover totally from mental health or mental illness. Sorry, not mental health. Mental health is a state of well-being.
Okay.
Mental illness. People can recover completely. A lot depends on what the diagnosis is, though. So if a person is schizophrenic or diagnosed with schizophrenia, there may be the need to continue to keep them, to manage the illness with medication, and they can still live well. So, for example, somebody who has high blood pressure, they still give him medication and they can still live well with the condition. And what we are saying is that we need to open up the spectrum alongside and treat people the same way we treat other illnesses. They can still live with the right medication, they can still contribute their quota to the community, to the society. A lot of the top place creative people actually are bipolar. When you think of Albert Einstein, all of the major music composers, most of them actually were diagnosed with bipolar issues. Most of the great writers actually had bipolar. But they were still able to cope because they lived in an environment where the stigma was not as high and people were allowed to still embrace them, especially at the height of creativity. And that's why we're saying we need to talk about mental wellness.
Okay, so majorly to, prevent stigmatization.
Yes. Yes. We want people to be able to understand that this is what bipolar is, and that's what we intend to do during our open mic sessions.
Okay.
We want people to talk, and then we'll explain to them. We'll have clinicians who will be able to explain to them. We will have people who have been through as well, people who are recovering, people who have recovered, come and talk about their experience. So we want people to open up and talk. We have kept a lead on this matter for too long in our community. People are dropping down and dying anyhow because they have stress that they find difficult to go and tell somebody else that, listen, I'm going through this issue. And they're bottling it up. And it's like, a bottle of Coke that you shake and shake and shake for a long time. If you don't let the ease out, if you don't let the carbon out, it's going to explode. And that's what we have in our society at the moment. And that's why I've come down. It's all pro bono. I've come down. I attended the conference that we had on Saturday, and I said, okay, we'll do an open mic session for the news. Let's start to talk about it. This is my contribution to my community. And I have a lot of psychiatric friends, psychiatrists who are friends in UK, who are more than happy to come down when we get this whole thing started together. We want to support our community in whatever little way we can, because we believe in Nigeria. We believe there's a future, and we believe also that a lot of our bright minds, we don't want them being cut short because they're not being attended to rightly.
All right, so the first open mic session comes up on Saturday.
Yes.
Venue again.
House J Resort, and it's 11 Joel Ogunaike Road or Street off Isaac John. GRA Keja. And we start 10.
All right, for those
open
who want
to everyone.
It's open to everyone. Well, of course, we're on Facebook as well. We have a very active Facebook page, and it is called The Nous. So if you go on Facebook and you type NOUS, that's THENOUS, if you type, it would come up. And you can ask to be added. We've got 2 pages. There's an open page where we just give out information about various mental well-being, and then we have a closed page. You need to ask to be added for that. And then we have a website which is www.thenewsorganization.co.uk.
Your phone number for those who might want to reach you personally. Is there a particular phone number they can call?
Yes, there is a number you can call me on, just in case you're trying to get to the venue on the day and you find it difficult. There actually, I actually have what we call a project board. We have a project board. So my name is Lade Olugbemi. My telephone number is 0909 014 9521. And then there's Christian Nonso.
No, the number again, just so you say so
I need to speak slowly.
0909, your number.
Yeah, my own number is 0909 014 9521. There's Christian Nonso. His number is 0814 626 4874. His name again is Christian Nonso. 0814-626-4874.
All right. Thank you very much, Miss Lade Olubemi, for joining us on the show this morning.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you very, very much.
You're welcome.
All right. Still Lagos this morning show.